All right. So this is Prashant Kumar, your host. We do these educational webinars. Along with me, I have my friend, my guest, Corey Peterson from Kahuna Investment. Just a little bit about myself. I'm the president of my company, of course, My Realty Gains, and we do this educational webinar once in 2 weeks. The goal is to spread the knowledge. There is nothing that we are selling here, so don't be afraid of anything. This is just an educational seminar where we end up sharing our knowledge. Those who want to learn more about us, you can contact us. Feel free to contact us anytime. And Corey is gonna talk about, we give away all of our contact information. Again, there's no obligation of any sort. We have done webinars on multiple subjects in past, primarily for passive investing, primarily, educating our friends, family members, community folks, primarily educating everybody about the benefits of passive investing. And that's what the topic is today. But just before we start the topic, I'm going to just talk about so that you know whom you are listening to right now. My name is Prashant Kumar. I come from very strong technology background, technology and management background. I have my own portfolio of single family and multifamilies. Along with that, I do syndication. And that's what Corey also does. And we are going to talk all about it. It's all about Corey tonight. But, my competency is to remove redundancies from the process. And we do meticulous underwriting. We do multifamily, we do assisted living. That's our compassion. Part is, we help see our seniors. We have projects, in multifamily as well as in assisted living, and we are always willing to share our knowledge. And that's what we do in this community, all keep giving back. And that's the real purpose of this webinar, where we are not selling anything. Once again, we are not selling anything. Feel free to stay here for as long as you want. And, we would like you to actually remain till the end, because towards the end, I'm going to do some, give us some free giveaways. And Corey has something to give away too for the folks who stay till the end. Okay. So having said that, I'm going to stop presenting. This is Prashant Kumar. And once again, with me, I have my friend, someone I adore very much, Corey Peterson from Kahuna Investments. So Corey, just a little bit Corey, welcome to the show. Welcome
Thanks,
to the
brother.
show,
I'm
brother.
super excited.
Yes, yes. And just let me introduce you also. As an owner of Kahuna Investment, Corey strives to provide his investors stable cash flow and long-term capital appreciation in multifamily space. Corey has managed and acquired $95 million worth of real estate across the country. He's the best-selling author of Copy Your Way to Success, Standing on the Shoulders of Giants. So, I mean, he has his book, great book. I have read it. He's a host of a podcast, Multifamily Legacy. He speaks around the country on this subject, including Howard and NASDAQ. He's frequently featured on Fox, CBC, NBC, and ABC affiliates. So Corey, once again, welcome to the show. So to start with, Corey, I would like to ask you, what is your background? What have you done in your past life? So, which has brought you here. So
Boy,
just,
I'm gonna make everybody feel really good because, man, I don't, I didn't do it like you did, Prashant. I barely made it out of high school. Okay, I was the kid that normally was failing class. So there's hope for everybody here, because it doesn't matter where you're at. You can achieve pretty much anything that you put your mind to. And I used to be a used car salesman, and but I found real estate in 2005. And I got to back up. This is almost 20 years ago, I think, maybe 22 years ago. Is I actually, my mom was married to this man, and I call him Bruce. I actually call him Bruce Wayne. Okay, he wasn't Batman, but Bruce was loaded. He had lots of money, and he invited me and my girlfriend, now my wife of 18 years, to Hawaii. And we get to Hawaii, and Bruce didn't tell. He was married to my mom, but I didn't know that he had a house right on the beach. And this is in Kauai, the Garden Island. And I remember going to staying at his house, and I'm telling you, it was beautiful. And I remember going over the berm, and right there in the water. It was on a cove. My wife, my girlfriend, and I at the time, we walked this cove. We watched the sun come up, and we were hand in hand and watching that sun come up. And I remember looking over to Bruce's house, and I was like, man, what does this guy do? Because he had something that I'd never seen before, and that was time and money. A lot of us have one, but very few of us truly have both. And Bruce had it, and unequivocally he had it. And I knew he had it. And I was like, man, what does this guy do? And then that's when he ushered the magic words. He said that he was in real estate and he owned apartments. Now, I wish the story got a lot better. Bruce was a grumpy old man. And my mom was really pretty. Don't judge my mom, okay? But I left the island. So Bruce wasn't going to teach me, but I left the island thinking that Bruce was the big kahuna, like he had it going on. And about 6 months after that trip, I read that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And what it did, it was like, oh my God, that's what Bruce is. Bruce is a real estate investor. He owns apartments that cash flow, and that's what he did. And the light bulb turned on. And that was in 2004. In 2005, I'm ready to start my company. I was like, what do I name it? And I thought about Bruce, and I thought about what he was doing. And so I was like, I want to name it with the end goal in mind. I want to be the big kahuna. And so I named my company Kahuna Investments, because I wanted time and money just like Bruce.
That's what I mean. I always thought, why would you name your company Big Kahuna? So thanks for telling the story. But the important thing that you have told, and we are going to get into your background a little bit more. But the important thing that you have told, it's not about what you have done in your past life. It is what you are doing today matters.
Yes.
You said you were dropped off out of school or whatever, and basically the story turned around for you when you took the steps, right?
It is.
I mean,
yes.
I come from very strong management background and blah blah blah. So it is what things like are different, but it's not about what you have done. What is the background? You can change it.
Does not matter.
It does not matter. You can you may choose to do what you want, what you are doing in your life, and you are probably living in a small apartment somewhere, and where you are. I mean,
but my eyes was focused on the prize. Once I was woke, once I knew that real estate was the way, I saw it in like I had a real in my life, my mind mentor. It was Bruce. Like he was truly living that life. And I was like, well, why can't I have it? Because he said he was a normal guy too. And so I was like, well, then there's got to be enough clues. And that's really the evolution. And that's probably why you guys are here, is because you're trying to figure out, how do I become wealthy? How do I start doing these syndications? How do I become that big kahuna? How do I, project and make myself into a trajectory that will give you wealth beyond measure, and you can have fun doing it. You can actually have some time to go be everything that you want to be.
Yeah, and just want to make it very clear, it's not a quick, get rich quick scheme at all. It is a lot of hard work. A lot of people are doing a lot of hard work. What you are doing, Corey, that is commendable. It's not that you did that in overnight, but it is a path that you are creating for yourself year after year.
But it's definitely get rich. Like,
definitely,
so it's definitely get rich. It may take a while to build it up. But the truth is, so I went into real estate in 2005, but I didn't really go full time in 2009. And my background, actually, I started off as a used car salesman, but I actually become a financial advisor. So I was working at Edward Jones as a financial advisor, and that's where I learned about money.
Yeah.
I learned about what, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, all
Mhm.
these types of investments, insurance, and all the different financial instruments that people were using that most of the world uses today. When people invest money, they typically don't use an apartment syndicator. Most of them do use a financial advisor. And
Yes.
that was the game that I learned
Yeah.
until the market crashed,
Mhm.
right? So when the market crashed, what I found, what I thought I was somebody's financial advisor.
Mhm.
What I realized is I had no control.
Yeah.
Everybody's account went from 50%, it just like got cut and slashed,
Yeah.
and my heart left the business. As soon
Mhm.
as my heart left the business, so did my sales,
Yeah.
and I got fired.
Wow.
I actually got fired. I actually now this is a cool story about the change in your mind, right? So I want to talk about the mindset just for
Yeah.
trying. Can talk
Yeah.
about the mind, Prashant?
Yes, this is what my next question was. What is the importance of mindset in this game?
Okay, great.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
great setup,
yeah.
because here's what happened. When I got actually, I went into my office at 8 o'clock at Edward Jones, and I had an appointment with my manager at 10, and my assistant couldn't look at me,
Mhm.
and I knew it was on. I knew I was going to get canned. I had that feeling, that look. She was, and I knew it was going to happen. So I went back in my office. The first thing I did was I printed a client list and put it in my truck. Okay. But the second thing I did is I sat in my office, and this is where I was like, man, I that was a really weird feeling to know that I'd never been fired in my life in anything. Like,
Mhm.
I'm a hard worker, but my heart wasn't in this job. I didn't really want to do it. And so I'm sitting there thinking, well, what do I really want to do? Because I'd kind of, even though I started my business in 2005 in real estate, I was just kind of playing in and out. I had like 3 or 4 rental properties, but I really wanted to do it, but I didn't commit to it. And so with that certainty of now I had to make a real choice in that office all alone with no one else watching, I made the deep down, most honest, sincere, I'm talking everything that I am commitment. And I made it to myself. And I told myself that I was willing to do whatever it took to be successful in real estate, as long as it was legal and ethical.
Yeah,
I was like, if the price was you got to stay up till 4 o'clock every morning, every day for months, check the box, I'm in. Where do I do it?
mhm.
I was willing to do whatever it took. And I didn't even know how I was going to do it at that point. I was such a new, true green investor.
Mhm.
But I remember at 10 o'clock, I got fired, and I walked out of that thing like Rocky, like, I'm going to do it. Now, I'd like to say that feeling lasted forever, but it didn't. Okay.
Mhm.
Rocky lasted for about 2 minutes, followed by sheer terror, because
Yeah,
now I had to go home and tell my wife that I was going to become a real estate investor and
yeah,
go full time.
yeah, yeah,
But here's sometimes a spouse can either help you and push you along, and that's what mine did for me.
yeah,
Is I told her my dreams and desires that I was going to do it. I was willing to do whatever it took, and Shelly was kind enough to say, "I trust you and I believe in you, but don't fail."
yeah.
And so I started off as a wholesaler. I'd go out and find deals.
Yep.
And I went to the local RIAs, the Real Estate Investors Associations,
Mhm.
and I would find guys that had money. And I was like, hey, where do you like to buy your deals? And I'm just like taking notes.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your rehab look like? And next thing I know, I was finding them deals. They were paying me a wholesaling fee. I was
Mhm.
finding myself in the game.
Mhm.
Then I learned something that changed my life. And I would love to share this with you, is how I raised my first piece of private money.
Interesting.
Because I was making $2,000 or $3,000 a month, Prashant, but like that wasn't much money.
Yeah.
And the deals that I was selling to these investors, they were making like $30,000 on these single family fix and flips.
Yep.
I was like, man, that's got to be better. I need to do that.
Yep.
And so it happened by accident. I was asking a friend, Prashant. I
Mhm.
wasn't even asking anybody for money. I was
Mhm.
asking a friend for help. He
Yeah.
happened to be retired, and he lived in a retirement community here in Phoenix.
Mhm.
And I was like, hey, Carl, hey, here's what I'm doing. I'm wholesaling, but I want to like do the whole thing, and I just need some money. Do you know anybody in that retirement community that wants to get their money working a little bit harder for them?
Yeah.
And so he was like, you know what? I'll see what I can do.
Mhm.
Well, the next day, guess who calls me? It's Carl. And he goes, Corey, do you still want to do that 12%? And in the back of my mind, I was like, man, Carl found somebody. Heck yes. But he goes, Corey, you don't know this, but my home's totally paid for. I can borrow money at 3%. If you give me 12%, I get to make a difference. I make the spread.
Yeah.
And then he said the magic words, how much money do you need? Now, this was a tough one because I was like, boy, how much do I tell him?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, but I was like, I'm just going to go for it. And so I said, you know, Carl, I need $85,000. And so he's like, and there was a slight pause. And he's like, yeah, okay. Where do you want me to send it? And then just like that, I raised my first piece of private money. And I will equate to like going into the telephone booth as Clark Kent. And I come around and spend all that. And I was like, I'm Superman. I was like, I raised private money.
Very
But
good.
Prashant, what it really did for me is it broke every limiting belief that I had really put in front of myself was, will people trust me? Will they give me money? Will they know that I had filed bankruptcy, and would they care? Will they know that I wasn't just a perfect money manager with my own money? And the answer to all that is no, it didn't matter. As long as I had a really good deal and I had integrity and I was going to do what I was going to say that I was going to do, people would give you their money. So this is on the single family side. And from there, I went hog wild on raising lots of money doing the single family fix and flips here in the Valley.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what changed. And here's the piece that really changed my life and how I got into multifamily is there was about 2010. I've got about $3 million on the street. I'm flipping properties, but I'm a one-man band, Prashant. I'm finding the deals. I'm raising the money. I'm going to property. And like, I'm like a top just spinning.
How many years did it take for you to, do all that before you get into the multifamily?
3 years. I was doing it 3 years hard.
3
like
years.
Hard. Wow. 2009, 10, 11. Hard.
Okay.
I went all in. And I mean, once I learned how to raise money, I went crazy with it. I was like, who do I know? And by the way, write this down. You never ask people for money.
Yes. You never ask.
Only ask them for who they know.
Yes.
Share your stuff and what you do and say, and poke some holes in my presentation, and the right people will always self-select.
Yes.
That's what Carl taught me.
Yeah.
Right. So now I'm doing single family fix and flips, and you would look at me and say, Corey, you look super successful. I'm making money, but listen, I'm making the wrong kind of money. I'm making ordinary income. I'm a trader with a D, but I felt like a trader with an AI because I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Rich Dad talk about cash flow.
Yeah.
I wasn't making cash flow.
That was you are just trading your time for the money.
I'm paying lots of taxes.
The more you were working, the more you were making. But when you were not working, it was
then
not.
I'm giving it to Uncle Sam.
Yes.
But the worst part is I was becoming a bad dad. And I wanted to let this resonate for you guys for a little bit because this is my why. I got in this business for time and money. That was the Bruce story.
Yeah.
Yet I found myself making money, but I didn't have the other thing. I didn't have time because I was running with my head cut off, doing single family fix and flips to the point where my son goes, hey, Dad, are you going to be at my game? Yeah, son, no worries. I'm going to be there. But in my mind, this is like a Saturday game. But I was like, man, I didn't look at these 3 homes. I'm going to wake up real early and go look at them. I'll be back in time for the game. Long story short, I come at the end of the game. And dude, my son came off the field. And this is always hard for me to tell, right? Because this one gets me. Is that he came off the field and he was crying, man. Like it was a tough cry. Wow. And it's hard for me to always tell the story. I tell it no matter what, because I want people to hear the pain that it caused me to have your kid like you promised.
Yeah.
It killed me, man.
Wow.
And it still kills me today, trying to tell the story of how I let money get in the way of what I would really wanted, which was a great life and family. And I knew that I was doing it wrong, Prashant. And so, pardon me to get from getting emotional there. I didn't want to get emotional, but
No,
it's hard for
no,
me to tell
it's
the story
okay.
because I picture my son. I
Yeah.
put him in my. I mean, he's crying. I mean, just the horrible. And I've got him in my his head in my chest, and I'm like, I'm sorry, son. I felt so bad, and it was in. So kids are resilient. They still love you anyways. Thank God,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I go drop my son off and I get in my truck and I'm driving around and I'm cussing at myself. I'm so mad. I'm angry with myself because I know I screwed up. And it was in that moment I finally asked God for forgiveness, right? And I surrendered. And I'm like, this is what I'm doing is not working. I've put money in front of everything. And that's not who I am. And so I asked for forgiveness. And then it happened, Prashant, is
Mhm.
I drove by this apartment complex and I've driven by it many times. But I used to say, I wish I could own an apartment complex. But in this empty, broken state, I drove by this apartment complex and I said, how can I own an apartment complex? And as soon as I said those words, my brain started working and I flashed back to Bruce, time and money,
Mhm.
apartments. I
Mhm.
knew that that was the answer.
Right.
I did a U-turn. I went to Barnes and Nobles. Now we just go to our cell phones, but I went to Barnes and Nobles. I
Mhm.
bought every book on apartment investing that I could find. And it took me about a year to figure it out. And in 2011, I bought my first apartment deal. I bought it for $3.2 million.
Wow. Wow.
Um, I raised $1.4 million of private money.
Interesting.
And then I sold that deal 5 years later for 8.8 million bucks.
Wow.
And I made
So,
$4.7 million profit on my first deal.
guys, you have heard a little bit about Corey so far. Those who came late, this is a show in which we are talking about creating generational wealth by passive investing in multifamily. And Corey just told you his story, how he started in single family and 3 years. At one point, he realized that it was not important for him to do deal after deal, and he jumped into multifamily, and in one deal, he made $5 million. In one deal, he made $5 million. We are not selling anything, and we're not
Changed
promising
my
any.
life.
Yes, we are telling the story. I mean, I have similar stories too, but today's Corey's turn. So stay till end. There are a couple of freebies that we have. Which Corey is gonna
That's my
share
son.
with everybody. So that's the power of investing in multifamily. You are creating time and you are creating wealth for yourself, and it's all about mindset.
Yes.
Corey, please continue. I just wanted to remind those who came late. What are we
Yes.
talking about?
So what I found is that what I love about apartment investing, there's always win-win-wins. Everybody gets to win in the deal. So when you really start looking at your passive investors, like they have the same issues too. No one trusts the stock market anymore. It's like a damn roller coaster that the ride is horrible. And just because, as a financial advisor, when I was working for Edward Jones, I used to tell people if you can make a 6 to 8% return, you're doing good. Like that's what you should shoot for.
Yeah.
6 to 8 is the norm. It's what's expected. But to get to 6 to 8, sometimes it's 12, sometimes it's -5, sometimes it's 22, but then sometimes it's -50, 29. And most people don't have the will, is the best word to say it,
Yeah.
to hang on the roller coaster when it's going down.
Yeah.
And what happens is people sell when it's low, and guess when they buy?
When it is going up,
When
when it
it's
is on the
high.
top, when it is top. Right now, so many
So
people are
even though we
getting.
all know to buy low and sell high, the majority of people do not have that temperament to do it, and they don't have the discipline because they're looking at their real money. And when it, especially when you get later on in life, when income and your paycheck is what you're looking at, you don't want to risk that money. And you get really freaked out about being on a roller coaster. And so then when if we talked about what products are out there in the investment world, what options do passive investors have? Well, if you go on the fixed income side, there's not much. You have what, we could call it treasuries, but that's zero. Certificates of deposit, it's the same number, almost zero. Then you have bonds. Bonds, maybe you can get 2 to 3.5%, 4%. But and then after bonds, you maybe have some insurance called annuities, but those things you're stuck in, you can never get out. And then the next step after that is like equity, back on the roller coaster. And so think about this: a 3%. Let's say you saved $1 million. You've been working at your job. You were like Prashant. You got an IT job. You've been doing great. You're saving all your money. Now you're ready for retirement. You got $1 million, and you're like, great, Prashant. Great, Corey. Got $1 million. We're going to put you all in these bonds because you don't have risk tolerance anymore, and we're going to pay you 3%. Now, so everybody understands the math. That's only $30,000. Wait a second. I made $1 million, saved $1 million, and I'm going to make $30,000 a year. That doesn't even add up for anybody. No one can do the math. They're like, because the math doesn't work, because they already know they're spending a lot more than that on their stuff. And so what's going on, this is what's playing in people's minds is, am I going to run out of money? Because now they know they have to spend what? Their principal. And that scares the living crap out of people. Because then the question is, am I going to run out of money? And for a lot of people, the answer is absolutely, unequivocally, yes, you are. Unless they know someone that's a deal maker like Prashant or me, or hopefully you guys, right? And you get to show them, and this is how we sell our investments. Like when I'm talking about how I do it and what I like to do, is I show people that spec, because I think a lot of people can realize that. So a lot of investors give a pref. So we give a pref. I'm not sure if you do, Prashant, but it's usually between 6 and 8. Like we do a 6% pref. So I'm like, just on the income side. So this is when I'm talking to passive investors and I'm saying, hey, listen, normally your financial advisor is going to tell you to live off of 3%. How would you like to double your paycheck? What if I could give you, say, $1 million, but I'm going to give you 6%? That's $60,000. Wait a second. $60,000 plus my retirement, my Social Security, I'm doing the math. I might be able to live off of that. I maybe could put that together. See, things start clicking in their heads like, wait a second, that may be something that will work for me. And then the great thing about what we do, and this is what I really love about this business, is I always tell them, hey guys, that's just the first part. It's like, but wait, there's more, right? It's like that commercial. And I say, tenants expect rents to go up, and we never disappoint them.
Yeah.
Okay. We always raise the rents, even if it's a little 3% cost of living adjustment, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we do in the apartment business, is we create great communities that are safe, clean, and disciplined. And by doing that and fixing all the broken stuff, we're able to raise the rents over a period of time.
Yep.
And when we do that, we're also raising the value of the property. And so when we raise the value of the property, and usually over a period of time of, let's call it 5 to 7 years, we're going to sell this asset. And when we do that, Mr. Investor, Mr. Passive Investor, you're going to be able to share in some of that profit with us. And you could get another 6 to 10%.
Yep.
Annualized for all the times you've kept it. And so I'm like, that's your bonus check. If you just live on the money as the income stream, and then after 5 years, you got a big deposit of money, I'm like, that's your going vacation fund.
So it's really like you are getting 6 to 8% during the life cycle of a project, and at the same time you are making appreciation also on the property. So it's not just it's not just rental income that you are getting. And there are a bunch of questions here, for you, is what are the books that you will recommend for the listeners? What is the best book to learn about apartment investing? And some people are asking, what are the best ways to save for retirement, besides just investing in single family properties? I think that's where we are going. The best way to invest, best way to save for your retirement is, you put your money in your retirement
You
account.
diversify. Yeah,
Yeah,
you go get yourself, take control of your money,
yeah,
right? So listen, because I already told you that a stockbroker has no control.
yeah,
So once you understand that concept and you believe in that concept, then you'll be looking out for people like me and Prashant to say, "Hey, we have an alternative to the stock market, which is real estate." And I think that you can. So you can invest in single family people, multifamily deal. But the reason we like the multifamily is because there's scale of economy,
yeah,
right? Like if you had one single family home that you invested with a guy and his tenant moves out, you're 100% vacant. But if you have 100 units in one location and 10 people move out, you're still 90% full.
yes.
Nothing changes.
And Corey, correct me if I'm wrong. See, I know everybody wants to have the pride of ownership. Everybody wants to buy a single family home for themselves, and they want to be an active investor, even
Yep.
whether they have time or not. And all they end up making on that single family, maybe 6 to 8% by working their butts off, by fixing the toilet, fixing the tenants, and whatnot. And with this multifamily, what I say is, instead of you buying a home worth $200,000, you are 10% owner of a $2 million property. The
Yeah.
difference is the difference is here you are not lifting your finger. When you are 10% owner of a $2 million property, you are not lifting the finger. It's the professional people who are doing the work for you, and you are getting all the fundamental benefits of ownership.
Yep.
You know,
So I see. I'm watching your messages too. So someone says the problem, but here So that's the benefits, right?
yeah,
Now the problem is liquidity.
yeah,
Okay. So listen, if you think about this, you got to understand this. Most people's retirement, like let's say you had a job, a 401k, and either maybe you quit and went to another job, and so you've got that money sitting at your old company. You don't want it there, so you transfer it to an IRA, right? A regular traditional IRA or something like that. But really, what we're saying is put it in a self-directed IRA so you can invest it into other stuff. But when you do that, you're like, well, now it's illiquid because once you invest it in a deal like us, we're saying that you've got to hold it for 5 to 7 years. But here's the truth: is these are retirement accounts that most people are in their 40s and 50s. They can't even access it till they're 65. So what does it matter,
yeah,
right? And then when you get to that closer part of you are 65, you don't necessarily want the money, you want the income that it provides. And every syndicator that I know under heaven and earth, if they're a good one, will always allow you to figure out how to get your money. So like, I'll give you an example. I've got a lady, great lady, but she's like, Corey, man, I got a life event. I need $100,000. Can you get me out of my deal? And she's owned it more than a year. Says usually the rules, you got to own it for at least a year. Okay. After that, we can help assist you in putting two parties together, and you're going to sell your shares
yep,
to the other party. And I will usually I just set it up and I do it for my people.
yeah,
Right. So it's not perfect, but it's pretty easy to get people when they have a life event or something. I can usually make it happen. And that's what good operators will do to kind of give a little bit of that illiquid ability out. Now, it's not every time and it's not always, right?
yeah.
So you still have to look at it as a longer term investment. But I think that's hopefully that answers that question.
And,
Great
and
question, by the way.
yeah, very good way. And to your point, if you have money in the retirement account, how many times do you look at that money? I personally never look at my retirement account, maybe twice a year, just to see whether it is going up or down, right?
Yep.
It's, it is so illiquid for me anyway, right?
Yeah.
And over the years, I have realized that I have not made more than 4 or 5% on that retirement account.
And that is the real truth. So as when I look at people that are doing it on their own, when they're doing their own single family investing, and you got to understand, I've spent since 2005 to now, I've been involved in real estate. I have more than a doctorate degree. I promise you, I've bought more.
చాక్లెట్ చాక్లెట్ ఉంది తెద్దాం అనుకోని
Just one
ఆర్గానిక్
second.
కాదని తేలా.
One second. I'm gonna mute.
ఆర్గానిక్ కాదు
I'm
మామూలు.
gonna mute everybody. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. So Corey, please unmute yourself, sir.
Yep, there we go.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries. So, what I was saying is, gosh dang it, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I also lost that train of thought of where you
Okay,
were.
so let's talk about books real quick, and then you guys can bring us back on. We'll come
You were
back,
saying, you were saying that you have the masters or the doctors in real estate in the last 15 years. You have done so much work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That what happens is they really don't. They think they're making money, but they end up not making any money because they have not put enough time to become a master at the craft. Like, so I'm a master at my craft. I've bought I bought more education than anybody here could probably. I don't know about you, Prashant, but I've spent a lot of hundreds of thousands of dollars on buying other people's courses, going to networking. I run my own mastermind. I'm in like 3 masterminds. That's all I do 24/7, and that's my business. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really good at it. You couldn't expect me to go do surgery on somebody.
Yeah.
I couldn't go run an IT department. No, mm-hmm. I wouldn't even know how to barely could start the damn computer. Mm-hmm. Right. But when it comes to my craft, I'm a Wudon Ninja level 10. That's what I do. Mm-hmm. And really more now in the multifamily space, I'm the puppet master. I bring all the pieces together with the right amounts of the recipe, and then I know how to bring it all together, and then I push it out and I make it work. And when something's a little bit wrong, I'm going there like, hold on, let me tweak this a little bit. Let me get this other management company in here. This one's not doing it right. I'm gonna solve for the X and move it along. And that's really what I do. And so I find that most investors that are passive investors, they don't have the skill set or honestly the want to. And they will maybe do it in the beginning, but what happens is they really get burnt out quickly. And because so ask me if I fixed toilets and tenants. The answer is no.
Nope.
But do I have people that do that? Absolutely. I have staff at my properties. That's why I buy apartments. We have staff that are full-time.
And that was my point. We do what we do best, right? And we let others people do what they do best. We buy apartment complex, but they are managed by professionals. Yeah. Those who fix toilets, those who scan the tenants properly, because that's their job. I mean, they get paid for that. And because we do these things so efficiently, we are able to create value in a project in which a mom and pop owner probably has not been able to do in past. Right. And now because we come in as a professional, and it's just not us. I mean, we are like normal people. I mean, there's on top of it, we have banks looking at the deal. Banks wants to make sure that these deals are successful. It's not just our word. I mean,
they don't just lend money just because.
Yeah, just because they love you, Corey. Corey, you're the.
And we secure these deals too with insurance. And I always say, apartments are like factories, right? Yeah. They take in money in the form of rent checks each and every month.
Yeah.
It goes through the factory and it spits out cash flow out the back door. That's right. The deliverable, right?
Right.
And so that really, they're like working little cities that come in and they have a process they have to go through. And, because things break. When we buy an 80s building, 1980s, 1990s building, it's old, right? And you got to think about there's really the type of tenants that, they're banging stuff up there, because a tenant's mentality versus an owner's mentality, we all know is different.
Yeah.
And so now, how do you keep tenants from destroying your properties? Procedures, processes, systems, right? And we call that in our properties, we call it disciplined. We have disciplined properties. We don't allow like smoking and joking and things going on in the breezeways. We light up our properties like Christmas trees. Lights are everywhere, right? Video cameras are everywhere.
Trust me, yeah.
Because we know we want our residents, our tenants, because see, for a lot of people, this is the truth. This is not just a rental property. This is their home.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yep.
when we understand that's the real thing that we're doing, we're creating homes for these and communities where people live not just a year, they live there for multiple years. They like their neighbors. We create events to build the community together. That's the difference between true operators and the mom and pop that just doesn't know.
Yeah. No,
And
I like your analogy, where something money is coming in, is churning, a lot of activities are happening, and then you are producing the output. So yeah, you are seeing the question somebody is asking about that report, 17% year over year. What are your thoughts on that?
Listen, I think that's probably a true report right now. Like housing is values of housing is going up tremendously. And because we have so much demand, but like the same thing is true with multifamilies. And I'll still just go back to the fact that it's hard to buy. Like when you look at a house, you're just betting on appreciation because most of those properties are not going to cash flow. And see, in my business, this is what I've learned. Cash flow is king. How do you weather a dip or a vicious downturn? Through cash flow.
Yeah.
If you cash flow, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter what the market does. We only sell when it's the right time. So, but I'll give an example. So in the deals that we do, we usually have a 5-year exit window for us. Like, so usually 5 years is when we want to leave the deal. But what happens though is like, Vic, what happens if the market dips bad and in a single family home, you're stuck. You're like, oh crap. Like, but for us, we'd be like, hey, listen, investors, it's not the time to sell today. Yeah. We're going to extend another 2 years or another year, and we're going to come back and resurvey it, because even though I said 5, as a whole, none of us want to lose our shorts. We don't want to, go into a low tide and realize that we're all naked, right?
Yeah. In single family, yes, you are appreciating maybe 17% year over year. Your tenant leaves, your cash flow is zero. Now you have to fix up the property. You have to bring the new tenant.
And once you can't make your payment, the bank owns it.
Yeah. Next thing you know is 2 months have gone by. You did not make any money on that year on that property. There goes your cash flow in the drain.
Yeah. Well, and you said it best too. That's the other piece. So it does appreciate, right? And listen, I'm not here to poo-poo single family.
Yeah.
I got a lot of friends that make lots of money doing single family. I just know that for me, when I'm playing Monopoly, right? I love those greenhouses, but I can't wait to buy the red one.
Yes.
Right? Because I know what happens when I buy the red one.
Those
people out of business.
Yes. Those who are doing single families, they are doing single families full time.
Yeah.
Right? We are talking about if you are a doctor, if you are an attorney, you have your own skill set. You are doing your job. You are making money, tons of money in your job. You don't want to quit that. And you still want your money to make money for you.
Yeah.
Without lifting your finger.
Yeah. Now, Praveen, I'm probably saying that wrong. Praveen, maybe.
Yeah.
So a couple books that I read, the ones that I like, I'll give you 2, and then we'll finish with mine later on down the road. But Multifamily Millions. That was a book that I read a long time ago by David Lindahl that I really enjoyed. It's an easy read. He speaks in a very easy voice, right? It's not super complicated to understand the basic concepts. That's multifamily, but that's how to do it. And so if that's what you want to do, But listen, I'm going to tell you right now, Prashant has a great course on if you're just looking about the passive way and how to how do you vet a syndicator? How do you know what a cap rate is? How do you understand when someone's showing you a deal? Prashant's got something that's hands down I don't even have,
Oh,
right?
thank you. Thank you.
Well, I teach people how to do the business, but I don't always talk to the passive investor. This is a big eye opener for me. I'm loving this, by the way. I think this because I have a real passion. I got into financial advising as a passion. I like talking about I love learning about money, and what I learned is that a lot of us we only have a limited knowledge of what we see from our financial advisors and our stockbrokers and our insurance guys, and they're all telling us stuff. But what do you have to say about it? And because you have a voice, and what I've learned is the more you exercise that, because here's what I know about wealthy people. I'm talking about the stupid wealthy people. They don't invest in the stock market, by the way. Maybe Warren, with the exception of Warren Buffett, okay? Yeah. But even he's not really investing in the stock market. He's buying companies.
Yeah.
Difference, right?
Yep.
But most people, you're way smarter because see, they call a broker, a stock broker, a broker for a reason because he's broker than you.
Yeah.
That's a fact. When I first started, I'm making like $70,000 with people with $1 million. And they're asking me for advice. Listen, I should be asking him, right?
That is correct.
But see, Jones gave me the tools and the words and this really pretty, picture of this mutual fund, and so that's called a sales job.
Yeah,
that's really what I was, and I had no control. So wealthy people take control of their money. And then they invest it and they place it in things and vehicles that make sense. And it's typically not the stock market. It's typically in, hedge funds and people like us, they'll invest with us. And, sometimes we've got people that will, some rich, wealthy, call them small family office. We have an $8 million raise that we're going to do. They'll say, listen, Corey, we want to raise 50% of that 8 million, but we want what's called a pref treatment. In other words, we want our money to be paid first, our profit to be paid first before your other investors are paid. And why? Because they're smart and they have money.
Yeah.
So they want to protect their position, but they're not going into the stock market to put their money. And so I just think that's really important to understand the whole process. I don't even know how they get your stuff, Prashant, but
no, I'm gonna share that with everybody.
Okay.
In
just because I just went through it, I was like, dude, this is awesome.
Well, thank you so much for promoting it. It's all free stuff. I'm gonna discuss that in a couple of minutes. I appreciate that very much.
I love the questions, by the way, guys. Yeah. I don't know if you get any value out of this, but I love when you guys talk about that kind of stuff, that kind of money stuff, because I feel like most of us are uneducated in the financial world and what you can really get with your money. And you only hear it from a stockbroker's point of view sometimes. And guess what? Most stockbrokers can't even talk about real estate. You know why? Because it's called selling away. Yeah. A stockbroker can only legally talk to you about products that their brokerage is repping.
Yeah.
And no brokerage that I know represents real estate because it's illiquid.
Yeah.
They want paper assets.
So in 2 lines, Corey, if you have to describe this real estate business, in 2 lines only, how would you do that to the listeners?
Multifamily investing, when done right, can make you cash flow and wealth. And I think that's what most people are looking for is time and money, right? And that's the premises of everything that I believe in. Yeah. And what I think most of us want is we want to retire earlier, live longer, and enjoy our youth and have some money to do some things.
What you said, you just hit the nail on the head. It is not made up sentence. It is something which is coming from the deepest core of the heart. That through multifamily, Through passive multifamily real estate investing, you can create generational wealth.
You
You know,
can,
when
and
you
that's the best part. Because
passive
you think about
investing,
this,
yeah,
uh, when you think about your kids, or just your kids, like how do, because there comes a point in your life where money doesn't matter as much. If when you get there, I'm almost there, but I'm still working. But there's going to be a time where like money doesn't motivate me as much as it used to motivate me. But my legacy, that's something I'm passionate about, right? My
yeah,
family name, our Peterson name, the big Kahuna, right?
yeah,
So that's my brand. I
yeah,
want it to live on. And
yeah,
how do I make it live on? I'm going to teach my kids the family business,
yeah,
and I'm passing it on generational. I'm going to teach them how to create generational wealth as well, so they can teach their kids, right?
that's
And
yeah,
we all have to do something. We all have money problems. We
yeah,
all have, some of us don't have enough money. Some of us have a lot of money, and the problem is, what do we do with it?
yeah,
And so you've got to solve that problem. And there's lots of other people. The stockbroker will say buy stocks. The multifamily guy says buy multifamily. The insurance guy says insurance. But what do you say? And you have a voice. And listen, we're not stupid. You're not stupid.
yeah.
Go out and educate yourself so you can find a way and find some alternatives to the stock market, which is what I believe in most.
Guys, you are listening to Corey Peterson right now. Somebody who started his career in used car salesman, started in, in real estate in 2009, 3 years in single families, and after that bought his first apartment deal for 3.2 million, made 5 million in 5 years on that deal. So from 2012 till today, Corey has managed $95 million worth of real estate assets. He's passionate about real estate investing, and he is there to educate everybody. In this show, we are talking to him. Corey, it has been a pleasure that you came on board. What is that you are offering to our listeners today?
Listen, I would love, so I just want to give everybody my book, and I'm going to give it to you for free. And here's the way you get it. It's real simple. I'll ship it to you. I'm not going to it's not free plus shipping. I'm just going to ship it to you. But to do it, you're going to text the word book to 480-500-1127. So text the word book to 480-500-1127. Follow the prompts. We'll ask for your address, and then my team will ship you a copy of this book called Copy Your Way to Success, Standing on the Shoulder of Giants. I wrote every word. It's very important to me. It's a good book. It talks about my journey and how I started from nothing to acquiring over all this money, and all the stories in between of how I learned from others along the way. And that's really the biggest gift with Prashant. He's going to give away his stuff too, is that real estate's a journey, and you're always learning. And that's why you guys are here. You're not here by accident. You're here because you want to learn about how to set yourself free, how to set yourself up. And
Yeah.
that really is what it's all about.
Yes. Yes. Somebody is asking that he's 25-year-old, he's in tech industry, and he's asking where to start. I mean, where to begin his journey.
Yes, man. Like that. This start with get this book. It's a great one. I got lots of little clues in there on how to get more stuff. Prashant's
Educate,
got some stuff.
yeah.
Get
Educate.
free education, brother.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's tons of free education out there. And for that matter, I think in the interest of time, I would like to share what I'm offering to, all the listeners here. I have created a 7-day email course. It's a free email course. What it is you put your email address and you'll start getting one email a day. It would be 3 minutes video. You'll see my face. I'm talking. It will tell you a little bit about real estate investing. And then there is another thing called you register in Passionate Passive Investors Club, PPIC. And I'm going to leave both the links here. Again, registering in that club does not mean that you're going to invest. All it is you are getting more education, free education. Nobody is going to ever call you or send you an email asking for anything. That's not the purpose here. We are doing this just because this is a very give back kind of community. We help each other out, and someday, hopefully 5 years down the line, our paths will cross, and you'll remember who Corey was and who Prashant was, and
Yeah,
that's the
Prashant,
real.
that's good. Your stuff's really good. I actually downloaded it and I went through it. I was like, man, this is really good stuff. So again,
Thank you.
kudos to you because I
Thank you
actually
so much.
consumed that whole course.
Thank
And
you so much.
because I was like, man, I was like, man, that I should be doing that to my investors. I was
You're
like,
welcome.
because they have these questions, I know, and I'm like, man, I should be setting them up so they already know what
Yeah.
the game looks like and how it works. And so it's really good information.
Very good. Thank you so much. I'm humbled. I'm humbled. It is coming from you. So guys, we have, I know basically, Corey, thank you so much. I know you had to go somewhere today, and you had some meetup, and you stayed back because I texted you that you are there on the webinar, and I appreciate that. We we will have just few more minutes, and we will let Corey go. Guys, any other last questions anybody has?
No, I don't see anybody typing. So let
Okay.
me let me say one last thing,
Yeah,
right?
please,
So
please, please.
I want to make sure, like, I believe the power of your mind, like what you guys believe, is so important. In my life, I started from nothing. I wanted to be successful, really bad, but it wasn't until I started seeing myself and believing in myself as being successful, as if I had it, even when I didn't. That's when my life started to change. When I started putting, and here's the thing about that, is you have to remind yourself daily. You really have to put on that badge of courage and that armor of strength and coat yourself and say, I'm successful. I'm, and say it as if you already have it. Money shows up to me. My wealth is around the corner. It's coming. I know it is. And start working that day by day, inch by inch. It's a cinch. Your paradise is truly possible. It's out there. Your sunsets and palm trees is waiting for you, but you've got to start believing in it today, and then you start your journey towards it.
I am pumped up, Corey. Last word that you said, I'm already pumped up. It's just so motivating, and I hope our listeners, those who have taken time, they got something out of it. I'm pretty sure they got a lot out of it. So I
It's from my
appreciate you
heart.
being
So
here.
yeah,
Yeah.
and check out my podcast, the Multifamily Legacy Podcast. Oh my
Yes.
God.
Yeah.
So I forgot about that. So that's a great. I mean, like, I teach it just how I do it right now. Very raw.
Yeah.
Very. It's not hard, but Multifamily Legacy Podcast is a
Yeah.
great way to get just free content. So
That is, yeah. I
again,
mean, that podcast is awesome. I mean, I listen to Corey all the time. Somebody asked the question where to start. Listen to podcast, listen to free
yeah.
education. You are surrounded by so many talented individual, and Corey is, of course, one of them. And is he's chugging along. Corey, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, my friend.
Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. Thank you again, everybody, for joining.